The eyes cannot be trespassed. What does that mean? I've dealt with this before, but apparently it's time to deal with it again. It comes from, as near as I can tell, McDonald versus the U.S. In McDonald versus the U.S., it is a Fourth Amendment case. Police officers looked through a window and saw someone committing a crime. And the statement that has been used and abused so boldly and turned into the eyes cannot be trespassed is the following statement. The eyes cannot commit the trespass condemned by the Fourth Amendment. The eyes cannot commit the trespass condemned by the Fourth Amendment. Now, there is a difference between saying that the eyes cannot be trespassed, or you can't trespass the eyes, and the eyes cannot commit the trespass condemned by the Fourth Amendment. So let's look at it. First of all, in that sentence, you see that the Fourth Amendment is there. So again, it's not dealing with the First Amendment, it's dealing with the Fourth Amendment. And the Fourth Amendment deals with your right to be secure from unreasonable searches and seizures by the government. It has nothing to do with the First Amendment. It has nothing to do with freedom of speech. It has nothing to do with controlling a citizen's actions. It's saying the government can't unreasonably seize your stuff or you and search you and your stuff. So that's strike number one. Strike number two is the word trespass. Trespass has multiple definitions. There is the crime of criminal trespass. And criminal trespass is defined by the statute. If there is no statute, there's no criminal trespass. At least in the U.S. Maybe some places hanging on to a common law crime of trespass, but I haven't seen it. Then there's the tort of trespass. So the crime of trespass is where the state brings an action against you for trespassing. There's the tort of trespass, which uses entirely different standards, at least in every state I've seen, to determine when a trespass has been committed. For example, a case that I studied in torts, or in torts in law school. It was a long time ago, so I don't remember entirely clearly. But a surveyor had done work. They'd gone onto a farmer's property with his permission. They had done their survey work with his permission, and then they left. And then it was sometime later, past the statute of limitations for negligence, that the farmer was out in the field plowing, and he hit one of these surveying marker posts, and somehow he died from it. It flipped his tractor over and killed him or something. And so they sued under the tort of trespass, and it was to teach, the purpose it was brought up in class is to teach people in the class, and it didn't have to be like you physically being on there. It's once you're no longer invited, once you're no longer allowed to be there, if you've left stuff there, that's trespassing. That's the tort of trespassing, not the crime of trespassing. But there's another use of the word trespass. I don't know how many of you grew up in Christian homes, but maybe you remember the Lord's Prayer, I think it is. Forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. I don't think that the Christian God, the Bible, is terribly concerned about people committing the crime or the tort of trespassing on land. Trespass means offense. It just means offense. So when the court said the eyes cannot commit the offense that is condemned by the Fourth Amendment. It is saying that the eyes cannot commit the offense that's condemned by the Fourth Amendment. So that's strike two. Strike three is just in the actual statement of it. They can't commit the offense of trespass. Doesn't mean that they can't be trespassed. You can trespass somebody from your property without them having committed the offense of trespass. You could just say, you're no longer welcome on my property. They don't even have to be on your property when you say that, and they've been trespassed from your property. They haven't committed an offense of trespass. They just haven't been trespassed, or they just have been trespassed. It's like when you put a sign up. A sign serves as notice that no trespassing. It means you can't enter this property. You've been trespassed without having committed the offense of trespass. So the language itself also destroys the argument. So no, there is nothing that I can find in Supreme Court law, in Supreme Court jurisprudence, or in any of the Court of Appeals that holds that the eyes cannot be trespassed. And in fact, they can be. There are laws in the very liberal state of California, which are legal, they're constitutional, that make peeping, even from a place where you are allowed to be, a crime. If you're on a hilltop with a high-powered telescope and you're using that to peer into windows of people's dressing rooms or restrooms and things like that, you're where you're lawfully allowed to be, you are still committing a crime. And unless you are a sovereign citizen, unless you are going to refuse to take the contradicting evidence into account when coming to your opinion, then you need to realize that the eyes, the act of peeping, can be made a crime. The eyes can be trespassed in your parlance. Even if you're in public where you're lawfully allowed to be, if you're using like a high-powered telescope or a camera to peep in on somebody who has a reasonable expectation of privacy in their bedroom or in their bathroom or changing in some state of undress, then that's a crime. So I hope that helps you. It's just like a conversation I had with California Guardian the other day, where he said if it's accessible to the public, you have a right to film there. And I pointed out courtrooms specifically are accessible to the public. Generally speaking, the judge won't clear the courtroom, and you're allowed to sit in there and watch trials. And yet you're not allowed to film, generally speaking, without permission of the court. So there is a single piece of contradicting evidence to suggest that you are not allowed to film. And you're not allowed to film in a Social Security agency office. And you're probably not allowed to film in a DMV, although in California it gets a little tricky. But they probably could make it so, because again, they have an obligation to protect people's driver's license numbers and Social Security numbers and, you know, all that other good stuff. So anyway, we'll see how that shakes out if somebody pushes it far enough. So there you go. The eyes can be trespassed. Thanks for watching.